Hi, my name is Mike Mergis. I applied for your regional service tech position. We had an interview last week, and I'm concerned that I really didn't have a chance to tell you about everything that I've done over the course of my tenure at Motorola. One thing that wasn't on my resume was this quick summary. And I wanted to start out by saying that I am a DeVry grad. I do have well over 100 business and technical courses. I started out on second shift as a plant electrical technician, repairing all the equipment in the plant and calibrating. We had lasers, we had x-ray machines. This included any of the computers, any of the RF generators, oscilloscopes, whatever it was that was being used throughout the plant. Then I decided, well, I want to get on the fast track. I want to make a lot of money. I've already gone through school. Let's move into management. Boom, that's where the money is. And I worked my way up to foreman. I had 3 different departments. I had 3 shifts, and I had close to 90 people reporting to me, but I just couldn't get the technical bug out of me. So I moved back into systems engineering. Worked for Bruce Monin in an advanced systems engineering group, automating the factory. This is a combination of all the electrical work, so I had to design and build the electrical interfaces, along with write all the software, collect all the data, develop statistics for all the different positions that I had automated. Then I moved into purely software development and had a number of different areas that I worked for. Then into project management, then into purely quality and sales. So that's a quick synopsis of the time I spent at Motorola, and then in the sales is outward. As I'm going through these papers, if you need to stop and look at anything, just pause the video and it should be clear enough for you to look at. This is one of the first things that kind of propelled me in the engineering ranks, from being a guy who was calibrating equipment and so forth. This is work that I did on model year 90 EEC4 module, which is the engine control module in Ford cars. It would monitor all the inputs and then control all the outputs. And they were having a problem, development engineering was having a problem, where just periodically it would go and reset itself. I had to use a Hewlett-Packard advanced test system, and I used this. It was made by another company, but it allowed me to write assembly language routines, which helped me run this thing faster than typically their C or basic programming allowed. And I was able to capture, prove, and show that indeed the module was resetting, where it was resetting, how it was resetting, and so forth. And this really opened up a lot of eyes from the different development organizations, and helped me move through the ranks rather quickly as an engineer from a technician. When I moved into systems engineering, I worked for a guy named Bruce Monin in the advanced systems engineering group. He wrote a letter of commendation. To get into his group, you had to have a master's degree. A lot of guys had their doctorate or were working towards it. But Bruce felt that I did a fantastic job. I did as well as the folks that he had, or better. So this was, again, something else that really helped move me up the ladder. One of the teams I worked on was a group called NetPlan, Network Planning for the Cellular Group. This was after I got done automating factories. I moved into just writing pure software. And this was one of the first teams. I was here maybe for 6 years or so. And what it allowed the systems engineers to do, who were setting up cell sites and systems out in the field, were to simulate everything before they actually went and procured land site for physical antennas and so forth. They could model what types of antennas were put there, how much power was there, where they were aiming it, whether they were tilting it, looking for overlapping and crosstalk and all different kinds of things. It was a splendid tool that just saved so much money for Sprint, Verizon, AT&T. Our guys even used it for smaller groups. I did three main things. I developed a digitizing program to digitize antenna patterns. I mean, we needed that to get really the ball rolling. You'd place the information you got from the antenna manufacturer on a digitizing pad and simply just outline with the digitizing pen, after you did some calibration so you knew where all the attenuation was. This is basically an attenuation pattern of the arc of propagation of an antenna. But it allowed the engineer to digitize the properties of the antenna into their database. So then, as they were setting up cell sites and putting them in different positions, we had a digital representation of how this antenna was going to work in the system. This was one of the first things I did, which we needed before we could really start any of the other work. What I did throughout the course of the development of this is create all of the input and output interfaces. It's not very sexy, but using the Unix boxes that we had available to us, Motif was the only thing that allowed us to create, other than command line interfaces, interfaces that were easy to use for the user. They can enter information in here, they can pull data from the database, they can manipulate it, put it back into the database, and get data representations instead of just having the graphical representations. I didn't do any of the graphical work. I did the antenna digitizing. I did all of the interfaces. Any data that was presented outside of a graphical representation was done by me. This is just a representation. There's probably 100 interfaces at least. The last thing I did before I moved on was create from scratch by myself a Excel spreadsheet. Now, it wasn't Excel. Excel wasn't capable of pulling data from our custom database and putting data in. So we needed something that had custom functions that could pull data from the database and present it to the user. The user could add rows, add columns, select, drag, copy, move, paste, just like Excel, only in a customized format that utilized the data that they had in the database. That was pretty cool to write my own Excel program or application by myself in a relatively short amount of time. After this, I got kind of tired of working on this and moved on. There's so much to do at Motorola. It was an exciting time back then. I did work very closely with Hewlett Packard, and one of the things they did, they felt quite highly of me. They actually used one of my quotes in their sales brochures. I thought that was kind of cool. That another company, Hewlett Packard, would take some of the things that I said and utilize it in their printed brochures that they'd give out to people. This is a list of the training that I had during the 2000, from 2000 up to 2008. You can pause and look at some of the learning history that I've got here. This starts at 2000. It doesn't really go prior to that. Some of these other certificates I'll show you shortly came from training that was, some of it might have been during the 2000s, but some of it was earlier than that. Let's start out with this. Patent award recognition. They didn't give us patents. Motorola keeps all of the patents. But if you generate a patent, You obviously get the certificate. You go to a formal dinner. You meet the big mucky mucks up in the corporation. They give you a big fat paycheck. So it was kind of cool. I remember this very distinct. I even remember driving around in the parking lot looking for a parking space. And when I was going to this, I was so excited. But that's that. The George Washington University School, Triton College. I did go to Roosevelt University and took a number of classes there. I don't know what I did with the paperwork from that, but like I said, I'm sure I lost a lot of stuff along the way. So this is just a synopsis of a lot of the courses and things that I've done throughout my tenure at Motorola and throughout my career. Tom Kortendick was one of the two guys I worked real closely with at Hewlett Packard. While working at Motorola. So, I don't know if you made a decision yet as to who you're going to hire for this position. Hopefully this will help sway you in my direction if you aren't leaning that direction yet. I would like to work for Ozone. I know I would do a great job for Ozone and represent your company well. So if you aren't thinking of me, please think of me, and hopefully I'll work for you one day. Thank you very much.